Hello, friends. I'm Dr. Vivek, and today I'm going to discuss uh, the third part of Aristotle. We have been discussing Aristotle uh, and the theory of Aristotle. His theories are in the book called Poetics. So these all theories are from Poetics, and in the first and second part, we have seen the theories related to Aristotle. So, in the previous video, I was discussing on the plot, how like what the importance of the plot according to Aristotle. He gives more importance to plot in tragedy. In continuation to the plot. The theory of theory of Aristotle in poetics I have been discussing. Now, it is necessary for a good tragic plot to arouse the emotions of fear and pity. This fear for Aristotle's theory, in Aristotle's theory, you see how this defines how it is defined. This The fear, the importance of fear and pity in a tragic plot. In a tragedy, if this tragedy is able to arouse fear and pity in the audiences, that is regarded as a good tragedy or good work of art of literature. In this spectacle or the reader, the pity should be aroused for undeserved sufferings of the hero and fear for the fact that we ourselves may encounter such a fate. When the audience is watching a tragedy on stage, uh, what the situation would be when this fear and pity would be aroused. Why fear and pity? Because fear for the same thing can happen with in the life of the audiences, and the pity because the he was not deserved, like the what happened with the hero, he was not so much deserved, like it's he was not deserved for this suffering. um, it should be shown on the stage, then it would arouse fear and pity. The change of fortune at the end should be from good to bad. The change of fortune of the hero would be good to bad, not bad to good. The unhappy ending is the only right kind of ending for a tragedy, because it is the most tragic in its effects. A happy ending may please us more, but it will not arouse the feelings of pity and fear in the audiences. So, will not arouse the tragic pleasure. There are two ways through which emotions of fear and pity can be aroused. There are two ways, according to Aristotle. What he says, the spectacular means of or theatrical effects, such as physical torture on the stage, piteous lamentation, beggarly appearance, and so on and so forth. So, through this effects. Theatrical effects also works in arousing fear and pity in the audience. Second is by the inner structure of the plot. If inner structure of the plot is such that it can arouse fear and pity, it would be like it can arouse fear and pity. Structure of plot, such as brother unknowingly killing his brother and discovering this fact later, or intending good and doing evil, or a little error visited by heavy punishment, and so forth, so on. Means such kind of structure it has, then the fear and pity can be aroused in the audiences. It is the second type of plot which indicates a superior plot because the plot should be constructed in such a way that when a reader reads the plot, in place of seeing or watching it staged, he is filled with emotions of fear and pity. So plot is divided into two parts, that is complication and its unraveling or denouement. Means uh, there are two plots. He divides the complication and unraveling or denouement. So what it is all about, I'll explain. The first is the complication ties the events into a tangled and denouement unties it. The complication includes all actions from beginning to the point where it takes a turn for good or ill, or denouement extends from turning point to the end. The first is commonly called rising action, and second is falling action. They are rising action and the falling action. Means when it starts from the beginning to middle, when there is a turning of emotion, when there is a turn in the plot, then it's come to turning to the end, it's called denouement. Means rising action and falling action. uh, Types of plot, there are two kinds of plot, like simple plot and complex plot. In a simple plot, there are no puzzling situations, but in a complex plot contains the puzzling situations like peripetia and anagnorisis. These are the terms which that Aristotle used in Poetics, peripetia and anagnorisis. What is all about? I'll let you know. Peripetia is a reversal of the situation. If the situation is reversed when it is not expected, it just suppose it happens, or there's a turn in situation, it's called peripetia. And anagnorisis is unorganization or discovery. When you some facts are discovered, something which is facts which are very important that are discovered, then it's called anagnorisis. The reversal of the situation means reversal of tensions. If tensions comes, a deed done in blindness defeating its own purpose. When something is done unknowingly and something blindedness, then move to kill an enemy, uncoiling one's own hat. So these are called reversal of the situation. The efforts to save turning from into opposite, killing the an enemy and discovering him to be a kinsman. Means this is a situation, if it happens, means in a complex plot is regarded as a good plot, because these situation like actions like peripetia and analysis comes in complex plot. So anagnosis is basically, as I told you, discovery. Something you discovered, something, the facts you suddenly got to know that it is the fact which you did not expected. So this discovery is called anagnosis. The discovery of those false moves uh, takes takes an takes an ignorance is anagnosis. Anagnosis basically change from ignorance to knowledge. Change from ignorance to knowledge. Both peripetia and anagnosis please because they contain the elements of surprise in them. A perfect tragedy should be designed such that it contains complex. As I told you, tragedy should have complex plot, not only the simple plot, but it should have a complex plot for a good tragedy. Tragic hero. What is tragic hero in a tragedy? Uh, Tragic hero should be such whose actions can arouse emotions of fear and pity in the audience. When you watch the movie, or like in drama, you find a tragic hero. There should be a tragic hero in the tragedy. and that should arouse emotions of fear and pity in the audience. He should not be an eminently good person. The hero should not be a good person, eminently good person, because his fall from prosperity to adversity will not uh, produce fear and pity, but it will induce a feeling of shock or revolt on the part of the audience. Means should not be eminently very good person all the time. He is doing good, perfect person. If he is, then it will not arouse fear and pity. There should be some fault, because a human being has inbuilt, it's bound to do error. Some error is, nobody is perfect. So a hero of a tragedy can also not be a bad person, or altogether not a bad person, who is raised from adversity to prosperity. Because of his badness, he will not arouse emotions of fear, and does not deserve at all good fortune. Means should not be altogether bad person. In a tragedy, the hero should not be altogether bad person as well. A tragic hero should be such who is not eminently good or just, or whose misfortune is brought about not by vice or depravity, but by some error or frailty. This is very important. A person should have a frailty, a error, tragic flaw. His misfortune excites pity, because it is out all proportions to his error of judgment, and his overall goodness excite fear for his doom. There should be a tragic flaw. There should be a judgmental error in his character, as it happens in human body, in human personality. Is bound to have some error or other. His hero, any person, whether he's a hero or not, but hero as well, he or she should have some fault, some judgmental fault, or some tragic flaw in his personality that is lead him, her to, for doom, for his or her doom. Sorry. Epic. Now Aristotle defines epic, and he gives uh, more importance to tragedy than epic. What he says about epic: epic emerged out of old hymns to the gods, and songs sung in praise of a famous man. In its nature, it resembles tragedy closely, but in its form, it is different. Epic resembles tragedy in nature. In nature, both are same, but uh, but uh, but in form, it's, epic is different from tragedy. The difference in form of epic and tragedy: an epic imitates life by narration. There is a narration. You cannot perform on stage. Epic cannot be performed on stage. It is narrative form and not by dramatic action, as I told you. And speech and epic is much longer in comparison to. If you compare between tragedy and epic is much more longer than the tragedy. And epic has no use for songs, spectacles, which form a part of a tragedy. In tragedy, it's very important. Songs, spectacles are important, but in epic, there is no use of song and spectacle. In length, epic does not need to follow the unities of time and space. Place. Since an epic is a narrative form, many events happening simultaneously can be present. In an epic, a poet can also use varying episodes, and this kind of variations breaks the monotony in the poem and adds grandeur to it. The third difference between tragedy and epic is use of improbable or marvelous. In an epic, the marvelous is perceived by imagination, and in tragedy, this is perceived by physical eye. Means uh, in an epic, these marvelous things is happening as an epic perceived by imagination. Because as I told you, that you can show epic on stage, but in tragedy, you can see on stage. So that's why you can perceive tragedy by your physical eye. Invisible to eye in the epic, improbability of a marvelous unnoticed, whereas it being visible on the stage, improbability looks absurd in case of tragedy. Means improbable things, if we are showing on the stage, that will look awkward, but in epic, it can go, it's okay that if improbable things are, you are telling in narration, you are telling, means in epic you are telling, that's okay, that will go, but in not in tragedy. So Aristotle suggests that a poet should prefer probable improbability to improbable possibility. So it's very important that Aristotle says that there is we should show probable improbability rather than improbable possibility. This means, what it means is, this means that he should prefer believable false. That can happen. You can only show believable false to the unbelievable truth, or convincing lie to an unconvincing fact. That is, you should show convincing lies rather than unconvincing facts. So this is all. Thank you so much for watching this, and this is the end of Aristotle, the third part of Aristotle. This video was, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much.